Note. Let's talk about A Tu Servicio whenever the first slide is there. Okay. Imagine for a second you could only change your health provider once every 3 years. And you can only do so during a single month, which is February. And this is a pretty big decision because you might regret at a time when it's way too late to change. Well, that actually happens in Uruguay. For reasons I don't have the time to delve into now, but our app, A Tu Servicio, was created specifically to solve that problem. But before we get into that, let me tell you a little bit about us. We are Data Uruguay. We are a small, mainly voluntary civic society organization, and we work on open data, transparency, and freedom of information. And we do that through tools like this one, advocacy, and community building. In 2014, we had a small news app using some of the data the Ministry of Health was already publishing, but not really getting to the intended audience. And that got us got interest from the Ministry of Health. And through AG6, our e-government agency's working tables on open government, we had the chance to start a dialogue, and thus, A Tu Servicio is born. This is a tool where you can find key performance indicators for every single health provider in Uruguay. And you can find information from things such as ticket prices, waiting times, human resources, and much more. This tool was completely co-created with the Ministry of Health. That's absolutely fundamental for this project. And its objective is to democratize access to information on health service providers. You can also find a comparison tool where you can delve really deep into the data. We actually have 300 individual data points that you can check. And last but definitely not least, this is all developed as open and free software, and also uses and helps publish open data. This is absolutely crucial for this kind of projects. As I said, this is a co-created tool. Two of the actors are the ones I already mentioned, us, Data, and the Ministry of Health. But it goes way beyond that. ILDA and Davina Americas funded this tool. They are not only, they should be recognized, also we need to keep raising money, but as well, they gave us the chance to have a lot of, let's say, leverage whenever we dealt with the government. Governments don't necessarily know how to co-create. So when you're working with the government, you're co-creating, and you have the funding on your side, it's easy to remember them that you're not a provider, you're actually a partner in the project. As I already mentioned also, the working tables for the second national OGP action plan by AG6 were also crucial for this project. Okay, there we are. So let's talk about what happened after we went live. First of all, we had sort of 35,000 sessions in a month. That might not seem much, but remember, we are from Uruguay. We have 3.4 million people in total, so that's around 1% of the population in a month. We had some new data, because although the ministry was already publishing some, the negotiation process in the co-creation allowed us to ask for some new data and to open the whole thing. So that's also some great news. On the accountability side, some very, very interesting stuff took place. First of all, every single health provider started either calling or writing to us or the ministry and started correcting data, finding mistakes in their own submissions, in the ministry's treatment of the data, or just odd mistakes somewhere, even on our part in some cases, but we corrected them. So the quality of the data greatly improved. And it's also very important to notice that this never happened in the 4 years before where data was published, but it wasn't really visible. So nobody really cared about that data. The mistakes were there for 4 years. We also had a very, very healthy public discussion on health services, but for the first time, it was based on data. The government itself, opposition parties, parliamentaries, the media, and also doctors' unions started using this tool to support their arguments. And this went on for the whole year, actually, as recently, as last month. The Minister of Health himself went to Parliament and used A Tu Servicio to show some data. And finally, we had continuity of the project as a result of its success, not only through a government change, we had elections last November, but all the way up to 2020. So we are actually going a lot farther. We are developing stages 2 and 3 of A Tu Servicio, which are a feedback module, because we found out that when people told us, look, this is not the price I paid for this medicine, or, you know, this is not the waiting time I had last week, that was very useful, and it allowed us to take that information to the Ministry of Health, and they checked if that was true or not. And the third module is about other kind of health data. This is basically services, but we also want to show and visualize epidemics, disease, etc. And the other thing, which in this case you might say we're not going too far with this tool, is because it's right here in Mexico where the next instance of A Tu Servicio is taking place. Thanks to the absolutely awesome guys from Codeando Mexico and Sonora Ciudadana, which might be around here somewhere. Woo! This next stage of A Tu Servicio is happening in the state of Sonora. And not only that, because we want to take it well beyond Mexico, we're working with Codeando Mexico again in a standard for health data, so other people can have their own A Tu Servicio, or they can have their own thing, but we can all work on a standardized way to use that data. That's basically all I had to tell you today about A Tu Servicio. You can check our stand back there in the open fair. You can speak with us, or write to us, or tweet us, or whatever you want. But if there's one thing you should keep from this presentation, please make it be that it's not really complicated. It's not that we are special. We had no special technologies. We had no incredible amount of funding or something weird to make this. This was purely about collaboration. This was true co-creation. So if we accept that working together is better than working alone, then we can do stuff like this. Thank you.